You've probably driven past houses like this, and the first thing you say to yourself is, who actually owns these homes? And the answer is probably nobody. Typically, 70% of these mega mansions are usually managed under an LLC and a revocable living trust. So we're going to talk about the 5 biggest reasons these secret empires exist and why it's better than putting your money in a bank. So let's just say your great-great-grandmother bought a house or a property like this back in 1960 and paid $800,000 for it. And you find out in her will, in her living trust, that she left you this property and it's now valued at $25 million, let's say. As long as you are included in her revocable living trust, you do not pay capital gains when you inherit this property. Same for anybody else who is included. So the advantage of this is properties like this are typically not sold, they're transferred. This is probably the biggest secret in American luxury real estate, is many mega mansions and ultra valuable properties never actually get put for sale. They are written into people's wills, and as long as they don't revoke those terms, when they pass away, not only do those people inherit those giant assets, but they inherit them with no capital gains tax. So that is the biggest, it's called the step up in basis tax code, and it's one line that basically saves people millions and millions of dollars. And what even adds more insult to injury for us, but not for the people who own these places, is they get to borrow against those assets for their entire lifetime, and then they get to pass along those same assets to their children and relatives. And this is called, it's not a very attractive term, but it's called the buy, borrow, and die philosophy. And people who live on these fancy islands and these giant houses where you don't even understand how they afford them, they're basically using every legal tax code. And these are not tricks. These are actually legal tax codes. So for example, the 1031 exchange, if you were to sell this property and you owned it for $20 million, if you bought a like-style property for $23 million, you would not pay capital gains on the old house as long as you bought it. The only exception to the rule, and this is why they call it the buy, borrow, and die, if you decide to sell before you die, you have to pay capital gains. So let's use an example. Someone wants to live in a nursing home. They can't take care of themselves. They don't have anyone to leave their property to, and they sell this house to pay for their living expenses, then they would pay capital gains tax. But every other scenario where they hang on to the property and they don't sell, they can borrow against the property, they can transfer it. And here's the best part. It's all kept private. You don't know who the names of these people are. You don't know who's receiving the properties. And this is how these mega empires are kept secret from the general public, is